Happy Father's Day, family. Happy Father's Day to all the men out there, the fathers, stepfathers, godfathers, surrogate fathers, big brothers, pastors, spiritual fathers, uncles, everybody who has made an impact on the lives of some man or some woman. And I want to salute you and say thank you for all that you do. Tonight, we are airing, right now, we are airing the third installment of the docuseries, Freedom. And so I want to invite you to join this journey with me as I just share my heart about some things. We're getting ready for this coming Saturday. It's happening fast. This Saturday, June 24th, it will be the Episcopal consecration. And so on that road to consecration, I'm sharing part of my journey. So join us right now. Like, tag, share, and invite somebody. Let them know it is Father's Day. So what better day to air legacy than on Father's Day? As you can see, we're outside. People are enjoying the festivities. And I want you to tune in real quick. Join us right now. Most people know me as Pastor Sean Mason, Bishop Designate, Overseer, whatever. They're more acquainted with my work in church, which is cool. But the older I get, the more I realize it's important for me to be a human. So I'm a human, I'm a man, a black man, I'm a Christian who happens to be in church leadership. A large part of who I am today has been influenced by Bishop Townsley. He was a larger-than-life figure to me. Growing up, I was never really into sports, so church was like a thing for me. Bishop Townsley was like my Michael Jordan, and I watched him, I modeled him. I would wait for him at the door for him to come to church, and I would carry his briefcase in. He was such a huge part of my life. And even though our personalities are vastly different, he was more of a outgoing kind of person to a certain degree, whereas I'm more introverted and laid back. I do have a heart for people. I know because I can be shy and introverted. It may not always translate that way, but I want to make sure people are good. He taught me that loving God and loving people is our greatest responsibility as leaders. My father, Sean R. Mason Sr., was a hard worker. And so I've gotten my work ethic from my dad. And he always told me, no matter what, make sure you go to work. My dad, for a few years, battled with substance abuse issues. And he was a person who was, he was an alcoholic. And there were times where he'd be in a very bad state, but he would always get up and go to work the next morning. And it taught me that no matter what you're facing, no matter what you're battling, you got work to do. There are people that are relying on you, people who are looking for you to be of support and to provide and to be what they need you to be, and also for you to be who you were called to be. So the words, no matter what, go to work. And sometimes going to work it involves you doing the work. So I took that even from a regular job perspective, and I thought about me learning how to do the work for me to be the best of me. So not just go to work, but do the work. My grandfather, David Hines Sr., he was such a big part of my life. Growing up, my house was kind of like Full House. So I lived with my maternal grandparents and both my parents and my sister and my uncle David. And so my grandfather was just always there. He made sure everybody was good. His whole, I don't want to say purpose, but he felt the weight of making sure his family was okay. And so that part of me of wanting to make sure those who are closest to me are good. And it's not everything to do with financially good, but emotionally good, spiritually good, making sure that they're good. And that's one of the things he said on his deathbed. He passed away last year, and one of the last things I remember saying, he was battling with his speech because of his illness, but one of the things he was able to get out was, make sure everybody's okay, make sure grandma's good, make sure mommy's good, make sure everybody's gonna be good. And so my promise to him was, I'm gonna make sure everybody's good. No matter what, the fact that I'm able to move forward and try to be what God has called me to be. My dad, before he passed away, he was able to become clean. And he was sober for about almost 2 years before he passed away. And he came to a church where I was preaching, surprised me there. And he was like, he could preach. And so him seeing me being the kid that loved church or playing church in the house, and to see the young man who had become a father and now walking in what he saw me doing as a child, I think my ability, or the fact that I was able to move forward. My grandfather, when we launched the Freedom Church, he was such a huge part of that, from financially sowing into it, even popping up. He wasn't like a big churchgoer like that, but he would pop in and support that and engage in the service and see that, again, being able to push forward even from humble beginnings. We're still in a beginning process to a certain degree, but God has blessed us to develop and to grow from where we used to be to where we are now. Leaving a legacy is extremely important, because I'm learning how to properly define legacy. And a legacy isn't a thing. The legacy is found in people. Bishop Townsley's son, Nathaniel Townsley III, one of the things he shared with me after Bishop passed away, and he was talking about the church building. He said, this isn't my father's legacy. He said, my father's legacy is people. It's in you, it's in me, it's in those people that he poured into. So leaving a legacy is more than just a church building or a church structure or a monetary inheritance or land. People are the legacy. And even though I'm not an old man and I'm approaching 40 next year, I'm not old by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm looking at life different, whereas I'm not just focused on destiny. As a younger preacher and a younger man, I was really focused on, even on MySpace, you know, you could put your name, you had like little hashtags, or you had nicknames. It was destined for greatness. I was always very deep. It was destined for greatness. And so I had this fixation to a certain degree of destiny, being destiny driven and destiny focused. And sometimes we get so caught up in the idea of destiny that we forget about the journey toward destiny. And once you arrive to this destiny that God has for you and what you are called to do and who you are called to be, you have to shift into legacy. What are you leaving behind? When you die, not just what are people going to say, what are you leaving to those who are drawn to you or who are connected to you? What is it that you taught them? What is it that you instilled in them? So I'm learning that my legacy is not just in the Freedom Church, but my legacy is my 4 children, Celeste, Theo, Kayla, and David. Those are my legacy, and I'm learning how to leave a secure legacy for them, something where they can learn from the good things and learn what not to do, and learn that they are loved, learn that people matter and that their feelings matter and that different aspects of who they are, good, bad, and different, as they grow in this journey of life, that they are able to do something and accomplish, and not just accomplish, but leave something behind for whoever's coming behind them. Legacy is not a thing, legacy is people. Beyond being a churchman, or beyond being a pastor, or a dad, and being a son or a brother, whatever roles have been attributed to me, I think I want to be remembered for loving people for who they are and loving people where they are. That no matter where they are in this journey of life, no matter where they are spiritually, no matter where they are financially, that I was able to love people for who they are, where they are, for no strings attached. Being a father has made me more conscious of the fact that it's not just me, that there are people that depend on you for several different things, that the decisions you make, good, bad, and different, affect them in some way, shape, or form. And even though there's no manual for fatherhood, I'm learning with even little bumps in the road and challenges, how to be the best dad that I could be for them, and having grace on myself, and allowing myself to make mistakes, but to learn from their mistakes, from my mistakes rather. That it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but with God's help, it is doable. Also learning that people receive love in different ways. And so all children are not the same. What one child needs may not be what another child needs. So learning how to be the best dad for each of them individually and collectively. Yeah, Celeste is my eldest child. She is smart. She is beautiful. She is talented. She is caring and has such bright future. And I'm enjoying watching her grow and develop into a young woman. Theodore is my eldest son. He is so caring and so he just wants to make sure everybody's good. He's engaged. I recently started a new job, and so he and I were hanging out when I first started the job, and he asked, "So how's the new job coming?" And just as simple as that was, that level of care from your teenager, it was just like, wow, man. It made me feel so good. So he's very caring, very, he's a quiet guy. He's a chill guy, the coolest kid in the world. But that part of him I love. Kayla is my youngest daughter, and Kayla is hilarious. She is creative. She is beautiful. She is smart. She's like my little buddy. That's she's growing into a young lady, and just to have conversations with her and to hear her mind and her thought process on certain things is just like, she cares about friends and those who are connected to her, and it's just, she has a personality like she needs her own reality show. It's hilarious. David is my youngest child. And David is what some will call my shadow. David is caring. He is gentle. He is just a good soul. And he's very, the way his mind works it's hilarious. Sometimes we'll be walking and just talking, and he'll ask about the end of the world. I'm like, Well, brother. But David, he talks and asks questions and poignant questions and just has these deep conversations. He thinks on another wavelength, and it reminds me of Bishop to a certain degree, where Bishop was just such a thinker, and it would just it comes out of nowhere to you, but for him, it makes sense. So they make me want to be better. Like every day, I want to be a better version of myself. I don't believe in having regrets, but I regret not being the best version that I could have been. But I'm learning how to give grace and be honorable for the time that God has given to me to even be better than what I am. I would want them to, I think I've said it, but I think I would want them to understand that I've tried my best to be the best dad, and that I love them more than they could ever imagine, and that I'm sorry if I've ever disappointed them, and that I'm all this I've said in so much shape or form, but if they really understood the magnitude of my love for them, that's what I want them to understand. That if something were to ever happen to me and I left the world, and I would want them to know without a shadow of a doubt, my dad loved me and my dad loved us. As far as my footsteps, I've always known what I was called to do, and I knew I wanted to be a preacher. I wanted to be a pastor. I wanted to be a bishop. Not for vain ambition or anything like that, but I think it is cool to be what I wanted to be when I grow up. And so whatever that calling that they may sense or feel, whatever that thing that they want to be, that they are able to live their life's purpose. In this aspect of my life, I don't have any regrets. So I want them to be able to live life knowing that they did what they were called to do and what they felt led to do. Living, when I think of living, I think of the not opposite of existing, but it doesn't mean just to exist. And a lot of times we live life where we're just existing, going through the motions. We get up, and go to work, and come home, go to church, and take care of the kids. And we go through this whole thing, and we're just existing, living life on autopilot. And for a while, I've been on autopilot, but I'm learning how to enjoy living and to embrace living, because Jesus, he says, I come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Not just I come that you might exist. Anything can exist, but living is what we should be going for. Not just living, but living abundantly. Growth comes in stages. It comes in pockets. It comes in different facets, and you could be growing in one area, not so much in another area. So it brings you to a level of consciousness where you're celebrating the areas of growth, but you're paying attention to the places that are not growing. And then also, you could be growing and not even know it. You see yourself every day. You see yourself, so you can be growing and developing, taking those moments to acknowledge the growth that is happening to you personally, where certain things may have bothered you at a certain point in your life, but then you grew and it doesn't bother you the same way that it used to bother you. Just as a frame of reference, like clothing, if those clothes don't fit no more, you can't wear those clothes. And learning how to grow with what's happening, with what's flowing, and you're like not staying stuck, but moving and flowing. Man is an interesting concept in that Everyone wants to tell you what a man should be, and a real man wouldn't do this, and a real man wouldn't do this. And men should, being a man is challenging. Being a man is hard, and allowing yourself to embrace the challenge of growing into a man, living as a man. And you think of man, for me, it thinks of responsibility. I think of provision. I think of development, protection, learning how to do all those things and still develop and still learn and be vulnerable. Not to be so aggressive, of course, but learning how to be vulnerable in certain moments. Being a man also tells you that you're forever a student. You're not a kid anymore. Even though, you're a student, you're not in first grade anymore. You are growing and you're developing into being the man that God has called you to be.